right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go at the 3 o'clock position on Terminus. We have SlayerS Ven, formerly We Made Fox's Soccer. He is our blue Protoss player. His opponent over at the 12 o'clock position from Team Mouse, that is Biggs. He is our yellow Zerg, and oh my god, Biggs has been playing so well.
Yeah, man, Biggs has been really impressing me so far with his play. Like you said before, coming back in a matchup when you're down against Young in almost every department imaginable, including tech, economy, everything, to do that is almost impossible, and he did it. He was able to win the game, so that's definitely brownie points in my book. Now, he's playing against Ven, who, as you mentioned before, is Soccer. We Made Fox Soccer was a very, very good player back in Brood War.
Yes.
I've actually casted a few games of him before. And his skills, I'm assuming, have translated pretty easily into StarCraft 2, as most pros have.
He was Code A this last go-round. He qualified for it, of course. Going through the Code B tournament to get into Code A is just ridiculous, but We Made Fox did qualify for Code A. Unfortunately, he met Nada in the round of 48 and was kicked out. So, Nada's still a very, very strong StarCraft 2 player, in addition to his legendary Brood War status, of course. And looks like Ven is going to open with a Forge FE. And he's going to close that off at this little choke point right here.
Is there an opening to the south of that forge?
I don't know, actually.
I'm pretty sure there is.
Okay, well, we're going to have something to check it out, because I'm not sure if that is or not.
I'm pretty sure, because a probe just went down underneath the forge to get out.
Okay.
So that's actually a very interesting... Now, if he's going to wall this off with a Zealot, and then build the rest of his buildings as a full wall, then that makes sense. So there's a probe coming in. So this is... interesting.
All right. Well, back on his opponent's side of things, Biggs has decided to go pool first and then gas after that. So just wants to make sure that he's going to have everything necessary to defend against any sort of pylon block or things like that. Shenanigans, possibly.
Shenanigans, yes.
I love shenanigans. All right.
Looks like that drone is going to go ahead and go back to mining. Now, you know, Biggs is going up with that gas pool build again. Actually, I think this is the first time he's done that. He's not Forge FEing. Or, excuse me, fast hatching. What am I saying?
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
So he's actually going to have quite a bit of quick Zerglings here.
Yes.
And he might exploit that opening in the Forge wall pretty easily.
We'll see what he can do here in a bit. He is going to track this drone down, but did that drone have good timing with those minerals? Ah, it gets there early, and the probe's going to be able to get in and do some harassment. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to delay the hatchery for a little bit longer, and the pylon is going to make it even more of a longer delay. Now, that pylon's going to serve a dual purpose. Not only does it delay the hatchery, but it also gives Ven enough time to patch that wall up because the Zerglings are distracted.
Certainly. And that pylon does go down pretty slowly to the Zerglings, which are only doing a couple of damage each hit. And finally, we do see the hatchery go down. Now, at the beginning of the game, you probably saw me fly our cursor up here because I wanted to see what version of Terminus they were using. This is the version with the destructible debris over at the 3rd and a closed-off path here. So, Forge FEing this right here pretty much guarantees you 3 bases.
All right, so yeah, he's going to definitely be on 3 bases pretty easily here, but it looks like, you know, Biggs isn't going to push those Zerglings to be aggressive. Rather, he's going to grab a quick third of his own. So that opening in the wall, not going to really hurt Ven at all. And it looks like we're going to be setting up for a pretty macro game here.
You see the rally point on his gateway. It looks like he is going to drop a Zealot in there in a second. But yeah, so here we go. More queens popping out at the moment. And we're going to have to see some pretty good creep spread here, as these bases can get pretty annoying, actually, to try and defend any sort of air or anything like that if you don't have the creep connected between them. And there we go, cybernetic score going down, and Ven has not really shown his hand quite yet.
Did you notice that Biggs actually made a second queen before the second hatch finished? So he's already got 2 queens out on the field.
And look at that timing.
Yeah, that timing is pretty impeccable. Now, he's not going to have inject larva right away, but I like I like how he makes the queens right away. A lot of Zergs do this, obviously, but it's smart because you're going to have so many queens, and we saw that in a game that he played earlier on Shattered Temple, just having mass queens, really good against Protoss.
And let's see what he pulls out here, as that Overlord's going to be arranged the photon cannon here in just a second, as soon as Ven actually gains vision of that.
That's a really good Overlord.
All right, well done, Overlord, staring down that photon cannon. And indeed, we do have Stargate coming out. So what I was talking about before about needing to have creep connected so you can defend against air is going to be absolutely true. And Biggs is doing a very diligent job of dropping down creep tumors, making sure he starts that
double
process.
Stargate.
Wow.
Now,
very aggressive.
Now, Ven probably was in the game spectating, as most players usually are, and he probably saw his teammate Alicia lose to Biggs. I believe it was Alicia versus Biggs, where Biggs just went mass queens. So to do this mass Stargate play, a little risky, but you know, he's committing pretty hard to it with +1 weapons as well. And as long as Biggs doesn't have too many queens, he should be able to crush through the anti-air.
And let's see how many queens are out there now. Just the 2 as he goes right up into layer tag. Now, there is an evolution chamber down. He will be able to make spore crawlers, really no problem. But he is teching up, and already we see spore crawler #1 being put up in the main. Wow, +1 air weapons. So that's, did he actually bypass? Yes, he did bypass Warp Gate technology to get that done.
He's really going to commit to air here. Not a single unit on the ground for Ven, and except for that Zealot, of course. But his purpose is basically a building. It's just walling off right now. But the double Stargate, did he see the Stargate at all when he sent that circling in there?
Take a look.
No, he did
He's
not.
Not seen that quite yet.
That's
Although,
really good placement by
this is one hell of a wall up at the front, so he's got to know something is coming. But
yeah, he might be able to, based on the fact that it's such a big wall. It's like, hey, he's got no way to get out, so maybe he's going air.
Man, Void Ray Wall is a blast from the past, but can still be extremely strong if your opponent isn't ready for it.
Double Stargate Void Ray with +1 weapons. Biggs is going to have to get a ton of spores up, and it looks like he's totally privy to this play, man. He's got spores going up everywhere. He's got 3 in the main, 2 at the natural. I'm assuming more at the third as well. I think Biggs is going to be totally prepared for this, and he's going to shut down this Void Ray play very easily.
Yes, he is, and that Overlord is actually going to go down in the process. No, not even bothering. Just wants to back away, wait for +1 weapons, wait for further Void Rays to come out. He's starting to reinforce with Phoenixes behind this as well, and so we'll see if at the very least he can disrupt his opponent's economy, force too many spore crawlers out, force a wrong tech choice while he tech transitions himself, as we do see Robo coming up now.
Yeah, and he's also getting a Hydralisk Den in terms of Biggs, excuse me, getting a Hydralisk Den right now, so he's going to start to get some mobile anti-air out on the field. Then really committing to this double Stargate play, and now adding on Robo Bay, and finally adding down a ton of gates, but that is going to be in the dark because the Overseer is going to go down. So Ven gonna make the transition after he realized, hey, there's too many spore crawlers up, and I'm not really gonna be able to do much at all.
Well, but he is still doing a pretty decent job at knocking out these spore crawlers and starting to threaten this third. 3 charged up Void Rays with +1.
Let's keep that charge going.
There we go, and he does do so, putting it on the hatchery.
Look at the +1 weapons, how much damage it does to that hatchery.
That's absurd.
That's ludicrous.
Yeah, it really is.
10 Hydras on the way. Will these 10 Hydras be in time?
I think that they're going to be able to allow Biggs to survive, but he is still taking quite a bit of damage.
Why isn't he killing the hatchery?
Oh, wow, going right after the Hydralisk Den, it appears.
Oh, I think he should just go for the hatchery. I don't know what Ven is doing right now. He's going to work the Hydralisk Den down first. Okay, so he gets the Hydra Den, he gets the Grew Spines, but he will not focus the hatchery down. Why is Ven pulling out? I certainly feel like he could have killed off that hatchery.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Or at least would have forced so many units out right now that the economy for Biggs would have just been obliterated. As it is, though, we have yet more spore crawlers coming up, so there's going to be 3 to 4 at each base.
There's an opening.
Yes, there is, especially as Ven has actually pulled ahead in economy.
Yeah, Ven doing a pretty good job here, despite the fact that Biggs looked like he was all over the airplay, but now Biggs does have quite a few Hydralisks, so Ven is not going to find an opening anymore because the Hydralisks are so mobile on that creep. It's unlikely that Ven's going to be able to do much more building damage with those Void Rays. So now it's smart that Ven threw down all those gateways and he's teching into Colossus because he's going to have a real backbone to fall back on.
All right, and Mr. Biggs is putting up his Spire Tech as well, but this is now 2 games in a row that we've seen him, fall behind on macro pretty early. Even in the game on Shattered Temple against Alicia, he decided to go into to move off of 3 base very, very late. So he is certainly comfortable with playing with high-tech units, but from an inferior economic position.
Yeah, I think that Biggs just has something. He's got that it factor. Even though as a Zerg he's behind in economy or behind in whatever department, or not way ahead, I guess, in this game, he's still able to make a very, very good game out of it and win. Now that Queen is going to go down, but that's okay. She did her job.
Looks like picking off some creep tumors in the middle as well. Very cute. Picks up a drone as it moves across. Now has to run away.
He could get a Void Ray. And the Void Rays go away from the creep. So,
so close though. Yeah. All right, we do have a third base coming up now for Ven, as he is going to be on 8 Gate, Twilight Council, Robo Bay, Double Stargate. He's going to have a very powerful unit composition here in a bit. He's keeping pace with his opponent's military count, but we have our first 5 Corruptors now coming up for Mr. Biggs.
I think that Ven is going to go for that Chandelier Death Ball style with Colossus, Void Ray. And, I mean, he's already got the makings of it on the way right now as Colossus is starting to hit the field, but he's also going to supplement that with Blink Stalkers. That's what I assume the Twilight Council is for. And if he does that, that's going to be a very hard army for Biggs to deal with, especially, I mean, Hydras are great, but Colossus are greater.
Yeah, greater yes. You know, I mean, until you have like that late game Brood Lords and, you know, Infestors or something like that thrown in there, relatively difficult to deal with large numbers of Colossi. We already do have 2 out, and a 3rd is about ready to pop now. Now, of course, all of this came at the expense. No Blink quite yet. Looks like this may just be used for upgrades in a bit. Not actually sure. All of this did come at the expense of his ground army, which is not all that well developed. There are a ton of units out for Biggs. However, of course, Ven does have the more cost-effective and better units.
Yeah, we'll have to see how this is going to go down. Biggs has quite a few Corruptors in the air right now. He's busting down the front door here. Very risky. Yeah. He is going to get the gateway and the forge and possibly the cyber core as well. But the closer he gets, the more dangerous it becomes because that death ball is so big.
Yeah,
I don't know about this.
Oh, it looks like he just wants to move in and engage.
Oh, the Corruptor's in a good spot.
Yeah, the Corruptors are actually engaging the Colossi, though, and just taking the damage from the +1 Void Rays, and the Corruptors are actually all going to fall very quickly. Do they get the last Colossus? No, the last Colossus does stay up, and now a lot of damage being done. It looks like Biggs is going to be pushed away. Ven with a very good engagement there.
For a second there, his Hydras didn't have creep, so I thought they were just going to be stranded, but they found some more creep. They ran away.
Yes.
You know, that last engagement really went in Ven's favor. I'm surprised that Biggs, you know, if Biggs had been able to kill off that last Colossus, he would have been in an okay spot. But because that last Colossus is standing, those Hydras are not going to be effective.
Blocked. Oh, he's got it.
Oh, if he can get that Colossus, can he get the Colossus?
It looks like he's just going to sacrifice all of his Corruptors to get that done. He does get 1 Colossus, but another just reinforced. The Stalkers that are on the ground are very
Hydras
powerful.
Just killed off some Void Rays.
They just killed off like 4 at the same time.
Yeah.
Wow, that was actually a huge amount of damage output.
Yeah, you know, Biggs' whole mindset right here is if I can kill off all the Colossus, then my Hydras suddenly become really good against this army. But as long as there's a Colossus standing there, I have to focus all my Corruptors and slam it into that Colossus. And I think that's his little playstyle that he's got going for him, which so far has been pretty evenly traded off with Ven. Ven has been kind of playing the opposite mindset, keeping my Colossus alive, pulling them back, and then focusing down on killing the core ground units.
Yeah, certainly. And Ven does have a Warp Prism coming out at the same time, so it looks like he'll move into a little bit of harassment as he establishes +2 weapons now. A ton more Corruptors are hitting the field. I do not believe he has an infestation pit down, though, so Biggs will not be moving into Hive Tech anytime soon.
There's a Warp Prism coming out for Ven. That's a little interesting.
Yep.
He might go into like late game harass tactics, which could be pretty effective. He could even use a Warp Prism as a mobile pylon as well. And here comes that Warp Prism on the way right now to join up with that main Protoss ball. Ven here in a pretty decent position. He's going to have to be careful of the potential flank on the left side. He's going to have to be very cautious with that army. The Warp Prism is making its way into the main right now, Cats, and let's see what he warps into the mineral line.
I'm very curious about that as well, as it's probably just going to be a few Zealots or something along those lines. Yeah, Zealots making their way out now. And do they have charged on?
No, they don't. That's why that Council has not been used this entire game.
Warp Prism speed coming up, though, but you are right. No Twilight Council upgrades. And Corruptors! Whoa! He just lost like 5 Corruptors, and those Zealots are continuing to do damage inside of the main. That forces Biggs' hand. He moves into the attack. Ven has a vastly superior position, though, and much better cost-effective units. Those Void Rays doing so much damage at the back. The Colossi dealing out their damage as well.
Oh my god. What a roastage. And Ven takes the game. Beautiful play by Ven.
Guys, we are moving into the ace match. Yep. It is game number 9 of this best of 9 here between Mouse and SlayerS.
是上将。